Broken people break people. Our early age, okay, and I'm gonna bring some of you guys, down memory lane because to the new people that are watching my videos, I welcome you, and to the ones that's been rocking out to my videos for a while, I appreciate you. I thank you, and to the newbies too, I appreciate you guys. So, from a little girl, okay, lived with my father. Okay, my father pretty much had custody of me, and he pretty much raised me up until the age, I want to say up until the age of 4. My mother wasn't there because she had a drinking problem. She was an alcoholic. I'm proud of my mother now. She's been sober, I think, for about like 9 or 10 years now. But growing up with my father, I was exposed to many things. Okay, so I was exposed to, prostitution. I was exposed to drugs. I was exposed to domestic violence. I was exposed to all these different scenarios. Okay, and the state had came in and actually took me from my father because it was a thing where as though my mother's side of the family and my cousin had came to pick my sister and I up from my father's house, and they didn't like the conditions that we was living in, how we looked. They didn't like it. So the plan was, I guess, for my sister and I to just stay with my mother's side of the family, but my father, he called the cops and reported a kidnapping. DYFS is court now, but DYFS had took over, and pretty much they had placed me in a foster home. And so from the foster home, me staying in a foster home, I ran away. I seen one of my father's girlfriends, ran away. And then later on, I was placed in a group home because the foster mother that I had, she was like, she couldn't, go through this, me running away, going back to, where my father was. So she had cut her ties, okay? And later on, someone had got custody of me, okay? And this person was very, very mean, okay? And pretty much I was blamed for what the adults did, right? So, already they was the person who had custody of me. They was very, very strict, but they were, and people in the family knew that, how strict this person was. But they was really, really strict. And oftentimes I would hear as a kid, growing up, I would hear this person say, I'm like this, I'm strict, or, I'm like this towards you because of what you've been exposed to. So from an early age, I started internalizing that what the people have done, it was my fault. A lot of times that we tend to do that, if we are told that, well, I'm like this toward you because of, the environment you come from, and, all those different things, we start internalizing, start thinking that it's our fault why we was placed in a, I thought it was my fault why I was placed in a foster home and in a group home, and, all those different things. Why? Because if someone is saying, I'm like this, I'm doing this to you because of, the things that you've been through, you automatically gonna think it was your responsibility or it was your fault why you was through those different things, right? What you have to understand is people do what they do because of who they are, okay? It has nothing to do with you, okay? It is because of who they are. And I didn't understand that for a long time. I didn't understand people act the way they act because of them. I will oftentimes think, or I would myself even, I would make excuses, or I would say, well, I'm doing this because of, even sometimes now, right? Like I talk to my youngest children, like my youngest son, to say, well, why are you yelling? And I'm like, because you not listening, right? But it's really because of, we do things because of who we are, okay, or who we acting as. And so you have to understand this. 18, right? After I had my spiritual awakening and I start understanding things, right? It was like the veil was lifted off my eyes. I started understanding the illusions. And one of the things that I had came to terms with was the person who was mean, the person who had custody of me, she did the best that she knew how to do. Okay. That's what I really had to understand. Because as long as I am saying, well, she wanted to do this, it was personal or whatever, then again, I'm feeling like a victim and I'm blaming this person. But if I forgive this person and I forgive myself for holding all that resentment, right? Feeling like, this person should have done a better job. People cannot do a better job, honey, if that's all they know. Okay? That's all they know. And so what I had to understand was that this person could have not done a better job because this is all they knew. Doesn't make them a bad person or anything like that. It's just who they are. Okay? It's who they are being. And so I had sent this person, appreciate them that they did the best that they knew how to do. I understand it. What they may have done, okay, it was never personal. It never was personal, okay? That's just, who they are being. You cannot expect somebody to give you oranges if all they have is apples, okay? You cannot expect somebody to give you something they don't have, okay? And also what you have to understand, that oftentimes we act out from our inner child, okay? Sometimes we'll say, well, I want my mother to behave like this. I want my mother to, do all these different things. Let me tell you something, honey. Let me tell you something. I hope you get this, okay? Your mother or father may behave a certain type of way. I hear people say narcissists, right? That their parents are narcissists. You do not have to be around there. Okay, let me say that again. Your mother or father may behave a certain type of way. They may belittle you. They may call you names. Okay, they may do a lot of gossiping, cause a lot of drama. They may do all these different things, okay? But you do not have to be around that. If someone is belittling you or making you feel less than, or what you have to also understand, we give permission to those things. So if somebody is making us feel a certain type of way, you don't have to keep on going around it, okay? You could visit that person every now and then, okay? Until you get enough courage to not allow them to talk to you in a certain type of way. All right. I remember one day I had my mother and I, okay, I love my mother. But when I had started doing the work on myself, me and my mother, we would, have like these disagreements, right? And what I would do is I would just give myself some time, right? Give myself some time away. Because one, I don't disrespect my mother. So around things that was that may affect me or I may allow to get the best of me, right? And so, it was a few times my mother and I, we would talk and she would say, But why you leave for, like, you be gone for months on now. And it was really about me looking at myself, understanding that, especially since I had my spiritual awakening, right? That things I don't have to tolerate. Certain things I don't have to be around. You do not have to tolerate certain things. And I remember one time I told my mother, I said, and I was very afraid to say this, but I told my mother, I said, I created boundaries, right? And I was afraid, especially in our culture, okay, the Black culture. Many of us, we are told basically what the parent do, that's what the parent do. Like, the parent can't do no wrong, or the parent isn't reprimanded for some of the things that they do. And oftentimes we feel afraid to speak up, right? Because it's all programmed in us from an early age. What I say, that's what goes. And you bet not say anything back, and all these different things. And what I noticed even with my children was some of the things that I was programmed with, like, what I say, you bet not say anything back. I would do that to my children, right? And basically is like not allowing them to speak, right? And some people may be like, well, that's good because the child shouldn't say anything, shouldn't sass the parent. And then there's some people that feel like, well, if you telling them not to speak, when they are children, when they grow up, they won't have a voice because somebody took their voice, okay? Because they was told from an early age that, what I say goes, and that's pretty much it, right? And so I go through this back and forth. It's like what I've been programmed, what has been programmed, in my subconscious mind, and then also the aspect of me, and then that I don't have to be like that, right? I don't have to be the way I grew up, or little girl. And how could you heal yourself from your inner child? One of the things you could do is, accept people for who they are, okay? Accept yourself for who you are and who you are becoming. Not saying that you're doing everything right, but don't beat yourself up. That's one. Two, you also could start journaling, right? Some people journal, some people go to therapy to, speak about how they feel, their story. But the more I started doing the work on myself, okay, I had to come to realize your perception, Dina, of you being your children's mother is going to be completely different than their perception. So I would often ask them, how do they feel about me being a mother? And some of the responses would be, they feel I'm controlling. They feel like I don't give them freedom. Okay, this was my oldest children. And I had to look at that because it wasn't the first time that someone had said that I was controlling. It wasn't the first time somebody said I was mean. Okay? And so I had to look at those things. And what I did was I came up with a plan. Well, we came up with a plan, me and my oldest children. And they would say, my oldest son, he would say, well, I can't do anything. I got that curfew and it's like, it's early and all this other stuff. So I said, all right, come on, we'll meet in the middle. What time you think your curfew should be? And so he would say, honey, and he still would come home late, okay? But what it did for me, it was us communicating effectively, okay? That was one. And then two, I was able to see what they said. If it was saying some of the times, some of the things that they would say, it wasn't necessarily what they wanted. Like, if my children would say, well, you gave me that curfew, and then we agreed to, your curfew is now 11 o'clock or whatever. And then they come in the house at 1 o'clock, right? What that did also was to allow them to take accountability for what they did, okay? Because we met in the middle, and you said you wanted this, we talked about it, and now you said whatever it was that you said, honey, you going against it, okay? So that was that. I wanted to really do this video to say, accept your parents for who they are, okay? For, your grandmother, whomever, okay? Accept them for who they are. But what you have to understand is, honey, when you start expecting them to be something different, to act different, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because people have to choose and they have to want different. But oftentimes, what people tend to need is they need to want to heal themselves. Okay, and it is not your responsibility to heal anyone. Okay, the only responsibility you have is to heal yourself. It is not even for you to heal your children. It is for you to heal yourself. And one of the things, if you like, well, how could I get this person to change? Honey, it is not for you to change them. But what you could be is a demonstration. Okay, a demonstration of, how you are parenting your children, how you was brought up. You see that certain things are not serving you. You see that certain things do not work, okay? And by that person being around you, almost like getting with the program. Like one time, I had told my mother a while ago that I wanted to do YouTube. And my mother is like, she's very supportive, okay? But I remember I told my mother, I said, you know what, Ma, I'm going to do YouTube and I'm not going to do rideshare anymore. My mother, she said, oh, you not? And I said, no. I said, I'm just going to do, the videos, the YouTube videos. And I remember my mother, the next time I spoke to her, she was saying like, hey, you gonna do, just that, and what you gonna do for income, and, all these different things. And I started feeling bad. And she was saying like, money don't just, come to you and stuff like that. I never had an issue with money. Like money always came to me. It always come to me. And I'm not just, saying it like to affirmation, right? But money always come to me without me working hard, okay? Without me even lifting a finger sometimes, okay? And my mother had said that, and I started feeling like, I started looking at my life, because I know what occurs in my life, right? And how the money comes to me and stuff. And one of the things my mother said was, you're going to have to work, right? And I was like, but I am going to be working. If I'm doing YouTube videos, like I'm working. And we didn't speak to one another. I think it was probably like, I want to say, I don't know. It was like a month. And then when we did start speaking, again, my mother and one of the things my mother, she'd say sometimes, like, you got to talk it out. I would be afraid to talk it out. I'm not gonna front. I would be afraid because I was, I don't want no arguments or anything. So pretty much sometimes I would shut down, because it all goes back to, being a little kid hearing, you don't say anything back and all these different things. So I would just shut down, and I wouldn't come around. I wouldn't speak. Or if it's like a special occasion, or if I have money, like if I came into money and stuff like that, or tried to send my mother something, right? Whether it's food, whatever, right? Just So, my mother could see that it's not, personal. Like, I still love her, okay? But certain things I don't want to be around, right? And so, and not saying I don't want to be around her, but certain things that I see, like, I don't want to be around it, okay? And so my mother, she had I remember, me and her was talking, and she started watching this YouTuber, okay? And like, I feel like my mother do want to change, right? Like, for the better and stuff, because I know sometimes one time she told me before that she was watching Infinite Waters, okay, Ralph Smart and stuff. It's not your responsibility to heal anyone, okay? It is their responsibility. And just like it's their responsibility, it is your responsibility. But as long as you are looking for the people who may have hurted you, you are looking for them to, I don't know, go back in time and change whatever it is that they may have done. They cannot do that. Sometimes they won't even apologize because they don't feel like what they did, it was that they was wrong. And so, you could bring something up like, I felt this way when I was a child. And sometimes they become very argumentative, or but also in that aspect, you have to also understand, like, even with my children, right? My daughter has said to me a few times, like, she wish I could be a better mother. Okay? She wish I could be the mothers on TV. Okay? And I told her, I said, this is not TV, girl. This is real life. And I know my children, they would prefer me to not be yelling at them and, all those different things. And sometimes I could be mean. But I'm doing the best that I know how to do. And you are doing the best that you know how to do. And your parents did the best that they know how to do. But do it means that there's room for improvement? Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that being said, I hope you guys got something from this. I love you guys. Make sure you're rocking out and believing in yourself.